Tonight, one woman shares her evacuation story from northern Saskatchewan as forest fires continue to blaze.
It feels like you're just being left to sort of burn.
Also, Saskatchewan's premier says the goal is net zero by 2050 and that the province will consider using non-renewable power sources until, quote, end of life. Plus, we check in on day 3 at Riders Training Camp ahead of tonight's roster cuts.
It was intense. You know, we want that. I mean, iron sharpens iron.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Tuesday, May 16th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Fire crews are trying to contain aggressive wildfires in northwestern Saskatchewan. People have evacuated several communities, including Buffalo Rivers and the Buffalo River Dene Nation. The only highways out are closed, so emergency officials have led people out in convoys. We spoke to a nurse who made the trip out of Buffalo Narrows early this morning.
We're driving and there's a whole string of vehicles, you know, one in single file driving in front of each other, and we're going about 50 kilometers an hour. You can't go fast. The smoke is so thick you can't really see much in front of you. But just outside of town, like about 5 kilometers outside of town, suddenly you see this huge glow on either side of the highway. It's just unbelievably bright, hot. The flames are right there at the highway. The trees that all line the highway are charred and on fire. The grass is on fire. There's either side of you just total flames engulfing the entire area. It is a disaster up there right now. It should be treated as a disaster. These fires are, there's 2 fires on each other's heels in that area. They are both over 40,000 hectares in size. They're the size of Saskatoon times 2. They're huge.
Okay, it's 4:30 in the morning, but I really have to get this out.
The problem is there's no official communication unless you know someone who knows someone. So you have to doom scroll Facebook in order to find out anything about anything. Not everybody has Facebook and not everybody has a cell phone, and the power has been out for days. People's devices aren't charged. There should be a way for official information to be getting to community members, not through Facebook. Part of it is being in such a remote and isolated area. It feels like you're just being left to sort of burn.
Over to Alberta, where wafting winds are posing a challenge today in their fight against wildfires. More communities have been ordered to leave. Residents in the town of Valley View, northwest of Edmonton, are among the latest to be issued mandatory evacuation orders. There are nearly 90 wildfires and more than 24 are burning out of control. About 20,000 people are out of their homes. 36 communities are under threat from flames. 300 members of the Canadian Armed Forces are supporting about 1,500 firefighters on the ground. Air quality advisories from wildfire smoke cover large parts of the province. Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe says the federal government's goal of requiring electrical grids to be net zero by 2035 is, quote, impossible and unaffordable. Today, Moe and Sask Power's CEO laid out Saskatchewan's plan for its power grid, including a goal to reach net zero by 2050. Adam Hunter has the details.
Premier Scott Moe says the federal government's still to be released clean electricity standards are unrealistic for the province.
In Saskatchewan, we will not attempt the impossible when it comes to power production in our province. We will not risk plunging our homes, our schools, our hospitals, our special care homes, our businesses into the cold and darkness because of the ideological whims of others. We will not increase power costs for our businesses and our families to the point where they become completely unaffordable.
Currently, 65% of the province's power comes from natural gas and coal. Saskatchewan is under pressure to phase out coal, but Moe isn't making promises. He says the province cannot rely on renewables like wind and solar to provide baseload power. He outlined Saskatchewan's plan to become net zero by 2050 rather than by 2035 as called for by the federal government. Mo wants Ottawa to get on board and to cover 75% of the cost of Saskatchewan's first small modular nuclear reactor and 50% of the cost of low emission and new renewable power in the province. Mo says federal standards would shutter its coal and natural gas plants well before their end of life.
We will consider running our fossil fuel generated electricity production and facilities to the end of their life. But it's a consideration that we will continue to evaluate as part of our commitment to keep electricity rates affordable and to protect the reliability of the Saskatchewan electricity grid.
The Federal Minister of Environment and Climate Change Canada says the province and Power Corporation are presuming too much because the clean electricity standards have not been finalized.
Well, it is interesting that the Premier would say it can't be done since he hasn't even seen what the regulations will entail and what kind of flexibility mechanisms they will be in terms of the use of natural gas and provisions for peaking demand. We are very mindful at the federal level of the necessity to have a grid that is reliable.
Minister Guilbeault says the federal government will not implement a policy that will force the lights to go off. He says while Ottawa is mindful of affordability and reliability, he says the country must carry its weight in the battle against climate change. Adam Hunter, CBC News, Regina.
A Saskatchewan family is calling for an independent body to help with missing persons cases. They've been searching for their loved one, Happy Charles, for more than 6 years. Jason Warwick has more on what they want and why.
It is a tough road that we are on, and it's real.
The family of Happy Charles was invited to a meeting of the Prince Albert Police Commission Tuesday to discuss her case. The 42-year-old woman went missing in Prince Albert more than 6 years ago. Her family has been searching for her, hosting walks, and trying to raise awareness of her case in any way they can.
And I'm just going to go through each missing person that we have.
Prince Albert Police gave an update on their city's various missing person cases. They're hoping anyone with information will come forward.
The families never give up, the police never give up, and I hope the public never gives up because we need to find answers.
Charles' family said PA Police didn't take them seriously at first, but communication has improved. The family thanked police for all their help, but said more is needed. Speaking afterward, they called for an independent body to investigate missing person cases. They say more people would come forward with tips. That body could also supply supports to families.
The families just want to be heard. To know that somebody cares, somebody's listening, somebody will take forward their message to the authorities and be heard. You know, because a lot of families still are not heard, even though they're talking directly to the police, because they figure that their missing loved one is out partying or just gone off somewhere.
As long as the communication was good between the civilian-run operation and the police, and it would be helpful. So it boils down to communication once again. It's always about communication. No matter what the problem, communication's the answer.
The stepfather of Happy Charles, Carson Poitras, says they won't stop searching until they get answers.
Can't quit. Just can't quit till we find it and bring it home.
Poitras says their next step is to start a petition to support the independent body, and they say other families agree with them. A Prince Albert police officer who handles missing persons cases says people can already report incidents and tips to Crime Stoppers anonymously, but the family's idea is worth pursuing. Jason Warwick, CBC News, Prince Albert.
A new report shows 9 out of 10 children in Saskatchewan live in what's called a childcare desert. That means there aren't enough daycare spots. The report's findings come just a month after the province hit its target of $10 a day childcare. In the legislature today, the opposition NDP said $10 a day daycare doesn't count for much if people can't access it. The report by the Canadian Centre for Policy Alternatives shows 92% of children in Saskatchewan live in a place where there are 3 children for every 1 childcare spot.
The report estimated that's about 85,500 children without meaningful access to childcare. And of course, the $10 a day childcare has only made the demand higher. Not only is the minister failing to kind of come up with a workforce strategy, an expansion plan that will honor the bilateral agreement they've entered into, we're hearing that many of the existing centres are struggling to keep their doors open, struggling to maintain the spaces they have.
The minister responsible for early childhood education says the report is skewed because it includes rural postal codes. Dustin Duncan says many parents live in small towns but access daycare spaces in the city. However, Regina and Saskatoon ranked among the worst cities on that list. Young people from across Saskatchewan who oppose vaping took their concerns to the steps of the Saskatchewan Legislative Building today to mark Anti-Vaping Awareness Day, and they had plenty of support.
It's not easy to wrangle a whole bunch, and on both sides, both parties come out to be able to support you. So you guys should take that as an accomplishment.
The rally was led by Youth for Change, a youth group supported by Lung Sask. It's the same group that successfully advocated for vaping control regulations in Saskatchewan 3 years ago. But they say more limitations are needed. Students today shared stories of how they got into or tried vaping, many saying it started with peer pressure and trying to be cool.
We have seen an exponential rise in the number of children and youth vaping in our province and across the country. It's astounding. 1 in 3 children and youth vape right now in the last 30 days. That's astronomical.
I have actually, because I went to the girls' bathroom once with my friends and they told me to do it because it's all fun and stuff. So I did try it, but I didn't like it at all.
The health minister says he's concerned about vaping and believes more changes are needed. Today, the students shared 8 recommendations. Some of those included banning all flavored vapes, getting rid of online sales, and putting a stop to vaping in outdoor public places. The provincial government is providing more money for Kate's Place in Regina. It's a supportive housing program for women going through Regina's drug treatment court. Kate's Place is managed by the Salvation Army. Women who are struggling with addiction attend treatment and undergo supervision rather than going to jail. The provincial budget earmarked more than $400 million for community-based organizations, an increase of $17.6 million from the previous year. For Kate's Place, it works out to $900,000 over 3 years.
Kate's Place plays a real role, a very practical and important role in helping women, as I noted, reunite with their children, gain stability, gain possibilities for employment, for education, and the numbers speak for themselves.
The Salvation Army says 309 women have come through Kate's Place since it started about a decade ago. The Saskatchewan Roughriders are hitting their first important deadline today. The team has to trim their roster by 10 players by midnight. To find out who deserves to make the cut, the Riders kicked up their intensity. The scorching hot temperatures were not the only thing heating up players today. The Riders fired on the pads for the first time this week. It was also the first real sign of players literally fighting for a job.
It was intense. You know, we want that. I mean, iron sharpens iron, and it's the truth. We gotta go hard against each other to get better, and I thought it was pretty good for the most part. We'll do it again tomorrow.
The biggest focus these days is on the offense. There's a new quarterback, new receivers, and a new offensive coordinator. One player you could see more on offense is also one of the most electrifying players in the CFL. Mario Alford is back with the Riders after winning Special Teams Player of the Year. Super Mario says he spent the offseason training on his farm in West Virginia.
That's kind of like my workout routine during the off season. Just chasing cattle, doing stuff on the farm, you know. It always stuff to do on the farm. It's always hard labor, so it's always fun. Not easy, but I find it fun.
Mario Alford is pretty much guaranteed to make the Riders roster, but 10 players will be released before training camp resumes tomorrow for day 4. Running a 1,500-meter race is hard enough. Try doing it under a heavy blanket of smoke. High school athletes toughed it out today at a track meet in Meadow Lake. Wildfire smoke is causing poor air quality and reduced visibility in many parts of northern Saskatchewan, and it's pushing south into central regions. Weather specialist Ethan Williams will have more on what the forecast holds after the break. Stay with us.
This weather update is brought to you by Capital GMC Buick Cadillac. Super Sierra and SUV sale is on now.
Our weather specialist, Ethan Williams, joins me now. This hot weather is not helping the growth of those wildfires at all.
No, it certainly isn't. And we heard about the Shaw fire earlier in the newscast. Sam, let's take a look now at where that fire is. And again, between Buffalo Narrows and Isle Lacrosse is where it is situated. It has impacted Highway 155 between Buffalo Narrows and the junction of Highway 165. But it's really those northwest winds in the area that have been causing that fire to spread through the night and through the day today. And this NASA footage now shows that those northwest winds have pushed it closer to Isle Lacrosse, which is kind of right here, moving it away from the Buffalo Narrows area, but you're still being impacted by the smoke in the region, of course, crossing the highway as well. And those northwest winds going to be shifting smoke all through south and central tomorrow. Air quality advisories in effect now for all of the province except for the very far north. You notice that red little dot in the corner, and that is a severe thunderstorm warning. A little bit of a low pressure system moving through the heat and the moisture in the southwest. This is for the RM of Reno in the southwest corner. Some sizable hail, heavy rain, strong winds, and even some other storms moving in the Shaunavon and Cypress Hills region very slowly to the east through the evening tonight. But a big change coming tomorrow. This cold front slicing through the province, and look at that, nearly a 25-degree temperature difference between Uranium City and Regina right now. And south and central, you will feel that temperature drop over the next couple of days. But for right now, 30 degrees or close to that in much of the region. Saskatoon, you hit 30 for the first time today. Regina, we got to 29 this afternoon. But after that cold front starts to move through tomorrow, will be clear for the most part in the south and central. But again, smoke moving in. Some rain still possible in the north. And then high pressure begins to move in as we head through Thursday. And will still likely be smoky in many parts, but the sunshine and the warmer weather is going to be returning with that high pressure. And again, a 2 to 4 millimeter range generally in especially the far north tonight. Areas impacted by forest fires, likely not getting anything, even a little bit of snow possible in western sections of Manitoba. The northwest wind's going to be pushing that smoke probably by tomorrow afternoon or even tomorrow morning, I think, in parts of south and central. We'll see it. Heaviest bands, though, still in the Churchill region, and that will continue to linger as winds are going to be gusting from the northwest over these next few days. We're looking at winds beginning to die down in the northwest, but they will keep going probably overnight tonight in the 20 to 30 range, and even in south and central, we could see some gusts tonight in that range as well. But again, 50 to 60 from the northwest tomorrow in south and central, dying down a little bit in the north as we head into Thursday, which is a good sign, but they could still be lingering, especially in southeastern sections as we head through Thursday and even into Friday. Regina, again, very smoky tomorrow, and that'll likely inhibit temperatures probably even more than that 19 degrees, dropping again as we head into Thursday. Still breezy Friday, Saturday, but temperatures, as expected, going to make a rebound. May be impacted, though, by the smoke as we head through the weekend. Saskatoon also smoky and going to be seeing overnight lows getting down into the single digits before that rebound in temperatures occurs. A little bit of cloud cover as we head through Sunday, Monday. But those temperatures feeling once again like June and July as we head into next week, Sam.
Incredible. Thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
Stay with us. We'll have more news after the break. New research suggests some women are suffering needlessly through menopause and should have the option of hormone replacement therapy. Some doctors have been wary of prescribing it because of stroke or breast cancer risks. But as Christine Birak reports, a review of the data suggests those concerns might be overblown.
Well, I think, like me, most women are confused.
Janet Coe says she was blindsided by menopause. Insomnia, night sweats, brain fog. Then she ended up in an emergency room.
I thought I was going to have a heart attack.
Coe saw doctors but says she didn't get much advice. Researchers say that's not unusual.
We've identified a real gap in care for menopausal symptoms.
A newly published Canadian review examining the management of menopause notes it is critical that doctors discuss symptoms and treatment options with their patients, including hormone therapy.
Given the history of hormone therapy and the studies and the whole evolution, there's a lot of clinicians just don't feel comfortable with hormone therapy, don't feel comfortable prescribing it.
Breathe.
A 2002 study found hormone therapy carried higher risks, but more recent studies have shown it can offer real benefits for younger women. The latest guidelines state for healthy menopausal women under 60 experiencing hot flashes and night sweats, the benefits of menopausal hormone therapy typically outweigh the risks. If taken for less than 5 years, the risk of breast cancer is less than 1 in 1,000 women.
When you are doing your Google searches and you're trying to be able to help yourself figure out how to manage your symptoms or trying to understand what your body is going through, that you want to be able to use credible resources.
The Canadian Menopause Society recommends this site, mq6.ca, which offers patients and doctors questions to start the conversation around symptoms and treatment. Experts warn hormone therapy shouldn't be taboo, but it's no cure-all either.
If someone's telling you only positive things or someone's telling you only negative things, that you should probably get another opinion.
Women deserve to understand that they don't have to suffer through symptoms that can last for a decade or more.
Coe says hormone therapy may not be for everyone, but for her, it worked. Christine Burak, CBC News, Port Credit, Ontario.
If you're traveling with WestJet this week, your flight plans could soon be up in the air. A 9-month labor dispute between the company and pilots has reached a boiling point. Last night, pilots issued a strike notice warning they could walk off the job on Friday. The airline threatens to lock them out before then. Nearly 2,000 pilots at WestJet and Swoop are fighting for better pay, job security, and scheduling changes. WestJet says travelers can rebook flights or be accommodated for cancellations. With the long weekend coming, travelers could expect chaos at airports. And Ethan's back with one last look at your weather.
And smoke starting to move into southern and central Saskatchewan tomorrow. In Regina, mostly sunny tomorrow, but smoke starting to move in. Those north winds already pretty gusty, up around 40 kilometers an hour. But the temperatures starting warm, only going to top out around 18, maybe even be a little bit less than that because of the smoke, which will be fully in place by the time we get to around the noon hour. For 8 a.m. in Saskatoon, we are looking for smoke, still northwest winds again picking up a little bit, and then heading to the afternoon, very similar conditions. Still quite smoky. I think Saskatoon and central Saskatchewan will definitely be seeing that by the noon hour, around 16 degrees or so. Prince Albert National Park, one of the many areas under a fire ban, but hey, it's still a nice place to go and view some wildlife. A common loon taken by Bob Ferguson, who sends us all of the great wildlife photos. Enjoying a nice swim there in this very hot weather, Sam.
Very hot. Thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
And before we leave you tonight, Saskatchewan's Lieutenant Governor had an audience with King Charles today. His Honour Russ Morasti and his wife Donna met with King Charles III at Buckingham Palace. They presented the King with 2 gifts. The first was a beaded medallion representing the Lieutenant Governor's crest, created by Kathy Lavallee of the Lac La Ronge Indian Band. The other was a donation in the King's name to an initiative that works to stop suicide among youth in northern Saskatchewan. And that is it for us tonight. For news anytime, you can head to cbc.ca/sask or subscribe to CBC Saskatchewan's YouTube channel. Ethan will be back with more local news and weather tonight at 11. Thanks for watching and have a great night.